Hello everybody and welcome back. Heroic versus Navi is about to begin. I'm so happy for you to join us on this wonderful evening. We just had 4 fantastic games and we keep it going with our 5th and final one. Yes, it has gotten quite late, but the fun never stops here in EUL. And speaking of fun, the most fun that can actually be gotten here is on this analyst desk, right? Yes, welcome. I'm If
you're a bit weird, then this
the most fun person in the world. You can hire me for all birthdays and bar mitzvahs.
He can't plug himself. You can't do that.
No, when you're a host, you're allowed to plug your own socials.
No,
you're allowed. You get a pass.
Actually, no. You very clearly cannot do that.
On Twitter,
people,
YouTube,
no. Stop.
Everything else.
I don't stream because I've had burnout from many things. So let's not talk about that here. Anyways, speaking of burnout, Fresh and Demo on the other side.
What do we have to do with burnout? Can I
him
ask?
specifically.
Him specifically?
Yes. Anyways, let's talk about our 2 teams, Heroic and Navi. Navi up first. What do you think, Demo?
Yeah, a side that I think just blew everyone away. I think the expectations for this side coming into the season was, okay, give them a bit of time, 2 new players, it's going to take them a while. But would you have ever have thought to see them beat Rogue?
No!
You wouldn't have!
Can't believe it!
What is that? Stop
Absolutely
that.
not!
Right, enough of the screaming. People could be sleeping, right? You need to respect, okay? Tim could hear. You don't wake him up, right? But Navi, for the most part, I think have just showcased what young talent who come in and have just a bit of fun. Yeah, that's what it feels like, and I think what it sounds like from what we're hearing about Navi is it's just a bunch of mates playing some fun.
We've actually got a player highlight on Nathan, and I think these 2 new changes into Navi have really unleashed Nathan. I know it was 12 and 10 on the KD, not amazing, not good, but it's the opportunity spotting that we think Nathan is now got on. He's got himself off the support. You look at the Lion, the main operator. He's got himself off the support. He's got himself onto that flex roll, the lurk roll, the rat roll, whatever you want to do. It's done well for him.
Yeah, I think Nathan was obviously the longest standing member of this side now, which is really not as long as what you would expect to see for someone who's been on this side. So I think he's only been joined for maybe a year at this stage, or maybe a little bit more than a year. But everyone else is gone. Doki's gone, Blur's gone, and he's been like Jack said, he's been able to become unleashed, almost the pre-Nathan that we've seen inside of national circuits before he got picked up.
And I've actually got Telestrator prepared for Nathan, just how much we loved it. And this was in a crucial moment, up against Rogue, 4-5 down, you can see it. Nathan actually makes one hell of a play to open up his round. He's going to be the player out in blue here, and you're going to see he's actually going to show Leon Gids that Leon needs to stay in the blue when he's playing Oregon. You're going to see Nathan get an unreal timing, and we'll come back to this, an unreal timing into blue as Leon leaves his elbow, gets the kill. The Navi players come absolutely flooding into site, overwhelming the site, and he makes that one play, that one rat play, to actually win his team the round. On the Lion, keeps Deepak in his place, they kill him, Plant goes down. But this isn't the genius bit of it. The genius bit of it is actually in the spawn phase, and it's going to come on to Nathan's POV in a sec, and it's very sped up, but he gets Kayak to open the door for him, and he sits and looks at the barrels until he hears the sound cue of Leon running away, and Skiddy dies, and that's the trigger. That's Nathan's opportunity to push himself in on his own, very solo, just playing what he sees and he hears, not in terms of the team, and he can really just open up the round for his team, and he did it absolutely perfectly.
All right, and on to this. We're going to keep it quite short on Heroic side. Your thoughts, Demo?
Yeah, Heroic, a similar boat to Navi, a side that have made 2 big changes, 2 rookies coming in into EUL making their debut, and, well, Heroic beat G2 in quite a convincing fashion. I think Heroic, they've showcased what the meta is like and what it can do for players like Benji, we knew was already good, just makes it even better. Players like Jim, who's coming in, it fits their playstyle where, again, similar to what we're kind of seeing from what Jack showed in the Telestrator with Nathan and these kind of rat plays. It's very much, you see an opportunity and you take it.
Map bans, that's my opportunity to come in and take it. Let's put it up on the screen. 9 maps, 8 are out, 1 is left, and it'll be Cafe Dostoevsky. Navi on the attack. Quickly.
It's going to be a spicy one. For Heroic, it's their favorite map. They've not lost it in the last 5 times that they've played it. They will play anybody on Cafe. Navi, they had some really bad games on it in stage 2, where they looked like they tried to do too much, be too elaborate. So I'm a little bit worried for Navi just based on the bans.
Yeah, I think Cafe is just going to be windows, 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 jump outs, jump outs, jump outs. It is such a turbulent map. It really plays different than any other map that we have in the pool, so it's going to be crazy.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's then toss it to our casters for our last game, Navi versus Heroic. Two teams that know one another quite well, and it's Desnace. Enjoy.
You know how this one goes. Thank you very much, Milosh. Welcome over to the last desk of the day for our final game, Navi versus Heroic. The 5th one on the Playday 2, Tim. I know it still feels a little bit early. I tend to say give it 3 Playdays for us to really get a feel of what's going on. And it feels like this is the time for one of these two teams to really put the stake in the ground and say, we want to be fighting for that mid-table, if not top 4 spot.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think from Heroic's point of view, as Fresh touched on there, Cafe has historically been a good map for them, but they've had 2 changes. Will it still be a good map for them? They need to put a marker down here to say, you know, this is still our castle. We are kings of the keep, and we are going to be locking this down. Like I said, Navi coming out, they had a big first week. They just want to double down on that now and start sending some messages out that, you know, Navi have arrived and we're going back to majors.
That's it. I think last week they looked like a team completely transformed. Like they finally got a little bit of structure in. Leader was unreal for them in terms of the clutch potential. And Heroic, admittedly, they surprised me. I had them down at the very start of this stage, looking at roster changes and how the very core of this team has been ripped out, essentially, with Sloth and Gorgona stepping away. I was concerned they'd finish in about 7th, but I think last week we saw a lot of promise in them, a lot of aggression, the right kind of mold or blend of players for the current meta that we sit in. So I'm really excited to see how these two teams that have clearly leveled up something special are going to go head-to-head today. As first few bans already flying through, seeing the Nook taken out, we spoke about her earlier on. One of only 4 ops still with nades in the game and very popular right now. The Flores maybe a little bit of an edge ban, but more looking towards like pixel shields and things like that to get rid of key gadgetry and key condensed locations. The Izami, no surprise at all either, just transform sites and make some areas very difficult to attack into. And Mirror, we're all very used to seeing Mirror banned away at this point, can make good sites impenetrable.
Heading in we go then, and as time goes on, Des, you know, we talk about those bans, we get more and more operators that come in, as Army now taking up one of those spots, making Piano very difficult, as you touched on, but it leaves Valkyrie open. You know, as the time goes on and as we get more and more people who teams like to ban, it gets more and more difficult to cover all bases. So we might just see some of those cams knocking about. It doesn't look like it is going to be the case here in round number 1. We are going to have the Warden brought along by Grizzly, so maybe a little bit of an expectation there of the potential for some Ying play or, you know, some heavy smoke and flash play, just to try and prevent that being a possibility. Maybe also give them a bit more of an opportunity to hold on to Piano if they've got operators that can keep themselves fighting no matter what is thrown in at them. Maestro as well. An interesting pickup here for Melo, because we don't always see too much Maestro anymore. Of course, the bubbles, the evil eye cameras saw a little bit of a downgrade, a little bit of a nerf a good while ago now. And since then, we see a lot less of Maestro.
We do. I think he's also quite slow as an operator at a time when being able to move fast is kind of what you want on the team. Now, I think in this kind of case, when you got things like you got your Rooney being able to run around and do their thing, arguably even the Warden, it's far from the end of the world. So for some teams, they will lean back in towards that. But I think you and I are very aware that some teams in EUL and now even around the world would rather employ things like the Echo to make use of those Yokai drones out on the roam. Worth referencing the last time these two teams played, it was on this map and it did go 7-3 to Heroic, by the way, so have played in recent history. Obviously, both teams have made a couple of roster changes since then, so a lot has changed. And Finker is no longer in the meta. It was a staple for both teams in their games, so there will be a lot to unpack today and discover.
Yeah, quite a few differences, and we're going to see how they play out. For the time being, Melo's just trying to take out a few of those little drones as they roll around through. Cigar sees one on the Piano stage stairs as well, but isn't able to do anything about it. A little ping comes out, gives all the information that is needed. We hear the nade detonate, and that will be the evil eye dealt with right into the corner there. The drone just going to be taking down a little bit of information there from Pixel Corner, but also taken out by the what is now commonplace bulletproof camera. You can see the EMP blast just coming out from it. Always positioned on that wall, and it's always a real focus for teams to try and take it down because they can be moved now, and you can see a little bit of a bigger angle with them. It can be a real nuisance when you're trying to get yourself established inside of Piano. It's going to take, with that laser gate in front of it, quite a bit of utility, but Teb, what an opener onto Doom.
A big one to find as well. We spoke about these guys a lot last week in terms of like Doom, Benja, even Melo spoke about a little bit as well. between the three of them, they can be absolute terrorists. Taking one off the board this early in the round, never going to be a bad thing. C4 from below comes out, though, not going to find his man, but Steb did take about 40 points of damage, far from the end of the world, but a pretty close shave.
Well, this is it. It just puts him on the back foot going into future fights. If he's going to come up against somebody like Uno when they're trying to clear out this pixel spot, it could make life a little bit difficult for the time being. Uno just being kept safe by those mute jammers, and that's something that Heroic going to be holding on to at this point. Navi really need to be clearing that out, and Uno with an absolute beauty from the bathroom just takes his man down. It's going to be Leader out of the pack, and that is 4v4 now, and it means Uno can get a little bit aggressive into Piano Avenger.
The double.
Unlucky.
Absolutely, but kills fly through for Navi. Skiddy with 2 more towards the close of this round as Mello, the last one left standing. Pressure from the window, pressure from the north, and inside the sights itself. Very little that can be done there as well. A good first round from Navi. Although, Tim, I do want to touch on some of the... I don't want to say the mistakes, but the readability of Navi there. When we saw 2 of those Selmas coming out onto the storage and bathroom walls, I think very immediately it was Uno who had the read on what was going on. Okay, there's jammers on these walls. They can't get them open. They've got to get rid of them. That probably means nades can come in from Skylight, or they have to come and push us up through New Balk. And sure enough, we saw someone, I think it was Leader, step up onto New Balk and instantly died to Uno. So they had a good read there on what it was Navi were trying to do, predicting what their movements were going to be. But just like against teams like Wolves, for example, you might feel you've got the round under control. Once we get into that last 20 seconds or so, everything completely goes out the window.
It does, and like you say, it was a smart play from Uno, that much is for sure. But unfortunately, Heroic needed a few more smart plays to be backing it up, really, and it just wasn't something they could find an answer to. So we're going to have Heroic moving on. They're going to go to Reading Room this time around, so we're going to take one of those mid-floor sites. I've often spoken about that top-floor site, Bar and Cocktail. It's one that doesn't have a fantastic defender win rate, in all honesty. So seeing them move on, certainly not the end of the world. They could easily burn a couple of rounds up on the top floor and get nothing to show for it. So they're going to be defending in a similar fashion. There will be a presence up on the top floor. They'll try to hold Navi out of there. They're actually getting really aggressive here. There's a couple of spawn peaks coming out, and this time, I said it in the first round that we might see the Valkyrie. Benja has brought her along.
Benja was considering a jump out there for a few seconds, I think, as well. You could see him poised against it. He was just waiting for the call to come in that, okay, someone has been found. They are on the rappel, for example, towards this wall, and that would have been Benja's invitation. But with no one being found by that pulse, opts not to make the call, understandably, otherwise you are basically exposed for free on the outside. Now, of course, Nathan Co have to worry about the fact that Benja is still dancing here inside a piano. Someone's playing him a merry little tune. He wants to make them come dancing to his. Goes for the camera, for the drone, doesn't find it, and almost loses his head in the process.
Just going to dip himself away there, taking the choice to fight another day. Mello not going to be drawn out, and so that's something that we just want to see how that progresses. He looks like he's preparing to drop away for the time being, but if Navi haven't picked up on his location, it could be deadly for them. He's just going to hold his position right on the edge of the balcony there, just overhanging pillars, to try and see if he can find anybody. Now then, Teb is going in there. The information's going to come through to Mello, and Des, I really don't think they're aware of this. The ping is going to give away the position, and there's certainly an opportunity. He just pops up a little bit too late, doesn't see his man, and there's now one coming round underneath New Hatch, and that could be a big problem. Uno is the one to find Teb to begin with. Nitro up through the hatch, and that is going to leave us now 5v4, and the freebie surely coming for Mello. There it is, he misses his man.
Should have had his man there. Nay should be dead to rights, and it would have been a 5v3. Just like last round, though, Heroic have got the read on Navi here. They're capitalising, sure. Navi got that round win, but I do feel there's more control being shown by Heroic. Another great read on the rappel there of Kayak. They put the diffuser down outside. 60 seconds to play as Doom also drops back down to sight. Wonderful start to these rounds by Heroic so far, just forcing Navi to box shadows at this stage.
Navi have made a quick adaptation there. Skiddy managing to get that diffuser back in hand very, very quickly, was on the windows. So that's not going to burn too much time for them. That could have been the big concern when the diffuser went down outside. But the bigger problem now is going to be Nath on low health at the minute. Even one small challenge is going to see him lose his life. And at that point, you are 5v2 and asking for problems. But Navi, they're getting something going at least. They've managed to get the wall opened up. That's going to give them an option to push direct into into sight, but also just to cut down a few of those angles. Benja, it is to finish off the low health. Nave getting a little bit excited there. Leader finds one, but it doesn't really matter, as they were in absolute no man's land. Heroic had begun to swarm. They smelt blood in the water, and they got the final kills.
That's more like the outcome I expect based on how Heroic have played. It feels like Navi are almost running a gauntlet where everywhere they step, they're being watched, they're being predicted, and they're running into traps and being caught up and tripped up along the way. Whether it's C4s coming out, players not being droned properly, it felt a lot like round one. And I'm not so much suggesting that Navi are playing this terribly. There are a few mistakes creeping in they need to correct. But I think Heroic are just putting up so many obstacles that it's almost impossible to get everything done inside the time limit you actually have available. Back up to that top floor we go, and we'll see how things shape up here for Heroic. Clearly, with a bit of confidence behind them from round two, feel they can now make this work.
A lot of the kills last time around, at least 2 of them, came from verticality for Heroic. They managed to get 2 Nitro kills, and the difficulty that they're going to find here is that those opportunities might not present themselves quite the same, but it could be an opportunity for them nonetheless. They tried it last time with Benja underneath. He was unsuccessful. He's come away from the Valkyrie this time, and I don't know whether it's maybe just that lack of information that has meant that they've struggled to have the same sort of impact vertically. And, you know, they really did manage to get something going last time around. So let's see how this one plays out. But if they're starting to lose those horizontal gunfights and there's not too much of a vertical pressure being applied, then I might just be asking the same question.
All right, the gridlock coming along is an interesting adaptation. Normally see things like a nomad being employed on maps like this. However, gridlock, I don't think it was the most recent patch, maybe it was the one before, but it could have been the most recent, I can't remember, was given 4 track stingers gadgets in a back pocket. What you've seen some teams doing now is doubling down, right? Looking to block off 2 staircases, but using 2 sets of tracks, just like Nath is doing now. Because you have that extra kind of support, it's double the amount of tracks that a would-be roaming defender has to employ to get through them. And the issue, I guess, is normally players will just kind of slow creep towards an air jab or a claymore and shoot it out. Unless, like in round 1, it's double claymore and you just didn't really predict there would be 2 there.
Skiddy's going to be working underneath, obviously learning the lesson that Benja was playing down there last time, and also the 2 vertical kills from the previous round. So it might just be a good thing that Heroic have not doubled down on that tactic. They could have found themselves losing men, as he's actually got somebody in support with him as well. He's got a drone racing in ahead of him. Nafit's going to be on the gridlock to open things up with a kill onto Grizzly, working from that cocktail balcony window, and the vertical angles being employed as well. Here, Heroic are going to be really under pressure here. There's Navi being absolutely ruthless at the minute, using everything that they've got to their advantage.
They have no idea that someone sat on the other side of that soft wall. Unfortunate as well, because with the right sort of angle here, it could be a freebie. Now he'll find his man. He knew he was around there and eventually hunts him down. Teb killed by the Angel of Death from above, trading out pretty much straight away. There was Skiddy finds one back. Zoom in response on the other side. It's 1-for-1 between these teams, back and forth, Tim. But Navi come out in the lead, a 3v2, and still 70 seconds to play with.
Man count like a rubber band at the minute, back and forth it goes. And as you say, Navi come out with the advantage. They're on top, and they've got all the time in the world here for an assault onto the top floor. They've got multiple angles to work from. They've got Uno on low health. This really is a round that is in the hands of Navi right now. It should be one that they will be at least wanting to pick up. They'll be thinking that they should be doing. Uno, he's just going to have to bunker down. He's got a man up on top of the catwalk. You can't quite get the angle far enough back there, so Nath is going to need to move away. It looks like he's going to be going to that cocktail balcony window. There's already track stingers there. Uno did manage to shoot a couple of them out, but not too many, and right now if he holds that line, he's going to be in big trouble, as Nath manages to find his kill.
Held their angles, played their trades, got the kills. Much better from Navi compared to the first couple of rounds. And Mello, the last left standing, plant is going down. A temporary 1v2 ensues, but one has already dropped off here. If he can get into a good angle, this could be damage. C4 in hand. Does he fall a little bit short? No, he doesn't even find him, Tim. I think he missed there on that throw, and that could have been a real big turnaround. Finds one, goes for the second, but Kayak don't miss those. Finds a kill, and Navi move up to 2-1.
Good start for Navi, and it is that top floor curse once again. As I've said, it is a difficult site to hold on to. I'm a little bit surprised that Heroic didn't follow up in round 3 by going down to Kitchen, to be honest. Doubling down on the top floor seems to have cost them there, as Navi once again just able to pick them apart slowly but surely and find the advantage until things were in their favour. Kayak getting a second plant down, and guess what? The site that they've planted on twice is the top floor. Navi getting nowhere near in in round 2 on the mid floor of Reading. So this time, Heroic are going to go all the way down to the bottom. There's an opportunity for them here, Des, despite being behind. If they can lock down Kitchen, they've got Reading then available as the next site. That comes back live, comes back available. So there's a good chance for Heroic here to maybe just double up and get a couple of rounds, guarantee themselves 3 on the split, so it's at least even. Maybe even get that chance of taking a 4th. You know, maybe you throw in a little mining curveball and rather than going back up to the top floor.
I like the overall positioning of these Vulcan canisters, though. The one inside Freezer, you just know if a drop comes in, that's getting popped straight away, no issue. They try and plant in behind the bomb chassis. There's a second one against the wall, ready to also go off. So layering them up in a nice way that's going to be able to burn through 50 seconds or so there, just keep them chunked out. So if Navi don't keep the pace up here, they could be in a spot of bother. One also sat here on the double doorway inside a bakery, just ready to pop if a push does come through.
Doom is low health at this point. I'm going to guess that that was a potential attempt at a spawn peek at the beginning of the round. We have seen Heroic being aggressive right up to those windows, but you've got to learn when to meter it. And right now, Doom is seriously low health, down to about 40 HP. Nobody damaged on the side of Navi, so either he's been damaged in the setup of the site, which is reasonably unlikely, or he's, I'm going to guess from that pillar's double window, taken a little bit of damage as he's tried to go for some sort of peek. So Doom could be in a dodgy position here. And look at this aggression still. Uno, Grizzly, sorry, Benja is on the Goyo this time, just swapping around operators, but both stacking up on that white stairs doors, looking for a little bit of aggression, a little bit of action there, but not going to find anything at this point.
Feel like they've got the read here over towards Bakery side that actually there is another push coming in from this direction, and it's a good time for Grizzly to get on the Yokais. That call coming in there at the last second it provides a nice little blind spot because you can't rely on the information from the Yokais whilst sure, well, guess what? Unable to get on the Yokais. But I like the use case coming out here of Grizzly as well to feed some information, try and spot where these players are, see if they get a couple of cheeky early kills. We'll now see that there's one just behind the pillar as well, and like you need an invitation for 3 of the boys in this Heroic side to go for some cheeky spawn peaks at least early on.
That's it, you know, they may well take that opportunity to just push up onto that white stairs door. We've already seen Uno doing it once. Doesn't have the best arsenal in order to be taking those fights. But look at that, Benja using the verticality against them beautifully there. Finds his kill onto Skiddy with a fantastic headshot to get things started.
It's a real classic. Like, why is he even spraying that? Why is he even there? Well, you've just seen why. Gets himself a freebie on to Skiddy. You might be wondering as well why they've opened up the garage there when they already had the door control. It's more gives you that longer angle. It makes it hard for Heroic to press in towards White Corridor, for example, knowing someone could be holding up that little hole that's just been opened. It's almost like what I call phantom pressure is, you know, if a doorway's opened up or a window's open, or in this case, a breach has been opened, because there's been utility committed or time and in resources invested in attacking that part of the map, you always assume someone could still be there. You don't know, but you have to assume someone is. So again, phantom pressure, not really a player there, but it's still the impact it has. A quick trade coming out between the two sides, so not player for player, but definitely kill for kill, as the second one follows through. Teb this time equalising the scoring at 3-3. The longer range angles almost finishing him off, down now to 2 HP, and there's one inside a coat. Does he know? Mello knows. Down goes Teb, 3v2 with only 10 seconds to play.
Navi really need to get moving here. Kayak's going to be pushing himself inside a site now, trying to throw that case down, and it's all going to come down to the cover of Nath. He's watching for the echo drones. He sees it, he takes it out. It's going to give Kayak another opportunity. He has to stick this one. Nath manages to find shots, gets a kill, and that is putting Navi in such a close position here to be able to do it. Nath loses his life, and as Kayak tries to reposition, he just can't get the job done. Grizzly with a double to win it out for Heroic. They lock down the basement.
I think Kayak's had the right idea there as well. Your body's even partly exposed behind that bomb frame. It's not a good spot to sit in. You just know the angle's going to come in from Grizz. He'll find an arm, he'll find an appendage of some kind, put you down and win the round from there. So don't blame Kayak for trying to run, but Grizzly played it very well. Was genuinely concerned, though, that Heroic would lose that round off the back of how that end of round went. Very scrappy, but got the point.
As I said at the beginning, maybe they go down to kitchen, they get it done there. They've got reading room then opened up. They've already won a good round here in round 2. They could be on for a 3-2 half and then just taking that final roll of the dice at the top floor if they need to. For me personally, I'd probably leave it alone. Like I said, get yourself into mining if this goes well and go for that 4-2 half. So Heroic, they're going to be in reading room. What happened last time around? Well, Navi, they struggled to get sort of meaningful control of that top floor without losing losing bodies. And then when they did drop down, they had 3 men remaining. They were pushing into the main site. They were opening up the wall pillars, just trying to get something going, any sort of pressure. But at that point, Heroic was circling. There was kills from above. There was kills from Cocktail Balcony. There was kills from below, coming up brown stairs. It was just a nightmare. And Navi, they were trying to fend them off from everywhere. So for me, they need to get better map control this time, more consistent. Get hold of that top floor, shut down the flanks. Don't allow Heroic to push back onto you, and then start working to site.
They're leaning in towards that with things like the Nomad and the Claymores, obviously, but I'm looking also at the side of Heroic and just seeing the Valkyrie, the Pulse, for example. There are tools here that really help them with the information gain that they can then capitalize and play off the back of. Again, this is where maybe you'll see now we've seen both a Gridlock and a Nomad. How we're going to find Heroic dealing with that might be the next question. I love how, again, they've double stacked up these Claymores, expecting someone to run out a double window or out a double doorway inside a bakery, round the corner looking for a kill on towards Nafe, and hey presto, there's going to be 2 Claymores there. So fingers crossed, it helps them out if it comes round to that. Heroic do strike me as the kind of team that would want to try and pull off that sort of play.
Joe, I'm going to be going in. It won't be long until Nerf finds the man at the top of White Stairs, I would imagine, but there will be an expectation that he's going to be playing in and around there anyway to try and lock down Cocktail and prevent too much access to those White Stairs. Also be able to challenge into Piano as well. Doom going to be taking that drone out. Out goes the Toxic Babe canister. Interesting position, just trying to prevent that pressure that we've spoken about coming in from those eastern windows. But right now, Navi stacking up heavily on that side.
They are just, again, moving the defense as well. Heroic over towards where Navi are coming from. We saw the same last round with them moving away from Bakery once they realised that wasn't where the push was coming in from. So good, somewhat reassignment of resources, I guess, moving players around where they need to. Realising no one's coming in towards red side, for example, gives Benja the freedom to play out towards that side of the map and maybe even look to challenge inside of Train. Joom still holding up on the upstairs as he hasn't been pushed out either. So right now, Navi letting a couple of members go a little bit loose, I'd wager. Haven't done a classic top floor clear. 3 players still sat up here, mostly uncontested and unbothered right now, and we're already over halfway through the round.
Yep, Navi need to be careful about not burning too much of the time that is left remaining to them. Doom, he's going to be able to open things up with a kill onto Teb, and what a start for Heroic. 2 minutes into the round, a lot of time burnt, and now the opening kill as well. You've got Skiddy just stuck on a rappel at the minute, waiting on the hope that somebody is going to traverse across that doorway. But when the drop away comes, as we see through the hatch, the Valk is gone, Benja back to site, and that isn't going to happen.
Easy.
Mello waits his time. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3 days.
It's some of the things I was watching G2 and I was concerned about is they're sending one player in to go and make a play, and there's no reaction from other players around them to capitalise on a potentially lost gunfight. No real ability to trade. They look a little bit scared, to be honest with you, Tim, and Heroic are giving them plenty good reason as well. They've decimated them on this top floor roam. Only one player left standing in the form of Kayak. He can't win this round alone, sadly, with this little time left on the clock. But, I mean, nice and cheeky, I'll give him that much. But again, don't really see a way that he manages to get this one over the finish line. Navi have got to be more decisive, more sharp, be like a lot of other teams that we see in EUL that are willing to just say, balls to the wall, into sight we go, and let's see what happens.
That's it, needing to just have that little bit more aggression, that little bit more impetus to get them into the map and get them any sort of control. But another good round from Heroic there, and I feel like they've played the site choices a lot better over the second stint of that defensive half. They've just given themselves the opportunity to win. They've recognised that top floor was not the site working for them, and as I thought they might, round 6, they're going to give mining a chance. For me, when you've played top floor twice, you've lost it twice, what do you stand to lose by giving the 4th choice a site an opportunity? Just get in there, see what you can do. The defense is going to be much similar to what they've just done now. They've brought the pulse along, so Uno's going to be feeding that information in. The only difference is those windows are a little bit easier to use direct into site because you don't have to sit on the rappel like you do when you're trying to use windows into dining. There's no internal push like there is into reading rooms. So maybe slightly easier for Navi, but I think Heroic might just be able to get something locked down here.
To get that 4-2, I think they'll consider that a great success. Navi may feel slightly disappointed with how their attacks have gone. But we'll see how this site plays out. As you said, it is out towards Mining and Fireplace. A side that I normally love this side because there are some really creative defenses that we've seen in Heroic, actually, one team that I think of when I say that. One thing I remember doing before when they had Sloth on side was they put a mirror window in the walls between the two sides, or between train and between mining, sorry, and then open up a lot of the museum wall that sits on the north side of mining. And from there, you give yourself a wonderful angle all the way through to the stairs, kind of like they've done now, actually, only the left side was more opened up, and you just give yourself a real great angle to be able to challenge from that mirror window and just essentially say, sorry, you can't come and plant here, go and attack Fireplace instead. It forced top floor control, which they were happy to contest at the time, and given what we've seen from this team so far today, they are very happy to challenge upstairs if that's what it's going to come down to. Look at this. Where's the jump out? Where's the jump out? Come on.
This is it. Uno's just sat there feeding that information on. You know it's going to come, but he doesn't need to. As Doom, he manages to slap his man off the rappel. That's Nerf gone. And more importantly, that's the E1D scans gone with him. So that is a big pickup for Heroic to begin with. It's just going to really take away a large portion of that nuisance. No door could be on the side of Navi this time around either. So it just means that those players up on the top floor for Heroic particularly can play there with a little bit more confidence, a little bit less disruption, especially behind those castle barricades.
And now they realise, oh, maybe we should clear top floor. Might be a little bit late at this point, boys. There's still a lot of work to do up there if you want to have any chance at looking at trying to plan inside of the round. Teb in a spot, of course, with that hammer to be able to smash through the castle barricade, but before they do so, probably wants information. Want to make sure it's safe for him to make that kind of play. Uno once again with a read on a second player in this round. His scanning work was what gave June that heads up to get a free kill onto Nath, and now he can track a second man, I believe, in Kayak.
He's going to be opening up the castle barricade, trying to apply some pressure again to top floor, still working on clearing that out. 1 minute 40 into things here, and we can see now the majority of pressure is the, you know, as you refer to it, phantom pressure. There's one player left up on top floor. Uno with a nitro out of the white stairs window, just showing really how to utilize Pulse to maximum effectiveness.
I think Navi just they do look scared, look a little bit lost, and you can see why on this map so many teams attack down red stairs first, establish that control, and that is your landing pad. Because right now, Tim, they're barely inside the building. I know we're currently looking at Skiddy inside a reading, but those last two players didn't even get barely a look inside the building before being killed off. Skiddy is in a great spot and has sort of capitalised on the chaos, and then the Navi have massively missed out on, but he's got to turn it into kills, Tim, or a plant, otherwise it's all for nothing.
They've got the call there. They've seen him on the default camera. That much is for sure. Uno's on white stairs in a position to potentially challenge Skiddy here. The heartbeat scanner is going to be telling him, I would imagine, exactly where he is. Mello manages to get the kill onto Teb, and right enough before he can go through and try to really secure that nade. Uno comes in, manages to get the trade out, and that leaves us now in a 3v1. Leader's trying to get anything going that he can. Nice shot through the soft wall there, just predicting the movement of Grizzly. Gets himself one, but needs two more. Cannot find them, and that round belongs to Uno.
I mean, bless you, Skiddy, but the man's not a painting. Stop looking at him. Like, he's in a spot where he's gotten towards side. They have no idea he's there. They know there's a Pulse on side who's scanning all around this building and could spot him at basically any moment. What's the best course of action you can take there? You can sit and wait and hope he's going to walk into your line of sight, or try and make a play happen. And it takes him about 10, 15 seconds before he does have a go on the man sat inside a train. But unfortunately for him, at the exact time he does that, you've got the castle looking at his wall, gets a couple of shots off, the awareness is there. Sure, he gets away with a freebie, but then is immediately shut down by Uno on that Pulse, who comes running in from behind. So you were in a spot to make something happen, just sadly couldn't capitalise. But Navi overall, again, they look a little bit scared, they look a little bit unsure of themselves. Heroic have really had their way with them in that first half. Now things switch over, it's Navi's chance to show, hey, we can play like that as well. We can be disruptive, we can be aggressive. And Heroic, given how they played in that first half, maybe bring them a confidence here, this could get really explosive.
Certainly could do. It's going to be down in kitchen to begin with, so the heat is certainly rising right now for Navi, especially if they don't start finding defences quickly. We've seen plenty of 4-2 halves so far today, but we've also seen plenty of overtime as well. There's two of them games so far going to overtime, if not usually going to 11 or 12 rounds, so all very, very close across EUL today, and quite a few surprises and upsets as well. We'll see whether this one ends up the same way. But right now, Heroic, they are on the attack. We've got Melo bringing along the book, so that tells us they're going to be looking for vertical superiority. Will they suffer the surprise of the yokai drones that they themselves used? It looks like Melo is well aware, so that shouldn't be the case.
Kayak has been one of the more prominent Echo, I was going to say yokai players, but Echo players, of course, that uses yokais that we have inside of EUL. Again, I referenced on Bar and Stage earlier on today, and we saw that site being played, that he is one of the guys that I think of when I think of that site. Kendrew is another. Deepek obviously is another as well.
So we just have a little bit of a call for a rehost, but that will not come in now until after the round, at which point we'll get that sorted out. So we'll play this one out. Melo's just going to be opening up those windows into mining at the minute, and the progress from Heroic so far has been a little bit slow. We would expect to see them opening up those vertical angles at about the 1:30 mark. If you're wondering how quickly should they be going, well, they've got about 10 seconds to get themselves comfortable control of these top two floors to a point where they can start opening up the angles that they want from mining, from train, and from those areas. Now, they are just about getting there, but I would say they're about 10-20 seconds behind the pace here, Des, realistically.
Yeah, you know my sort of magic point that I go for. I actually think they're okay with where they're at right now. 1:30 seconds. If you're swinging your first hammer towards the floor and looking for vertical control at 1:30, I generally think that's okay. I always remember Norarengo when they used to still play, one of the slower teams that would do so about 60 seconds. The fastest teams generally were about 1:50 seconds. But inside that window, you've still got good time. You can open up what you need to. You can establish information. You can get angles being held down as long as you have that 1:30 mark, and you can still get off a good execute. So I'm probably looking here towards Navi and thinking, okay, based on what they're currently opening up, where they've got players pushing in, it's absolutely looking to be a bit of a freezer push here and potentially a freezer drop, as it is Uno who has got that diffuser in back pocket.
If that's the case, it's essential that they deal with the player in Cocktail, which is leader at the minute. Manages to keep himself out of the way of the nade there. He's got a little bit of support as well. Doom does find Nerf to kick things off, but it is going to depend on VIP getting cleared out here. Tev on the support from Brown Stairs just sees the man at the bottom of white. We have a little bit of back and forth, but with 24 seconds left to go, Heroic need to get moving.
They do. It's about time, boys. It might be gated back at this point by Navi, who feel like they've held them off relatively well, but the plant is going down, and it's likely going to be in behind the Oster. Skiddy has got the opportunity for some vertical, but blasted away by that Nomad. Will they have to finish it off? No, they can't in time. Teb's in behind as well. Uno going to have to relocate here and try and make a different plant work. They know all about it, and Kayak is looking to get the angle pushing in here as well. One man to his left, but 2 kills coming for Heroic. They get the job done. The plant is down, and they find the 3 kills. It felt like that was Navi's, but a last-second call from Uno to relocate was all they needed to get round 7.
What a scramble that was from Heroic. No other way of putting it. 5 seconds left to go, a failed plant attempt, and they just have to react. It's 3v3, I think, at that point. They're getting pressure from the defenders of Navi. They don't know whether they're going to have an impact necessarily from a yokai drone, but still manage to get the job done. Uno knowing that all he has to do is get that clock extended and just allow the players to do what they do best, and that is find kills. Excellent play from Heroic. No panic in them.
I think that's going to be a really interesting one to watch back. And I know 100% that I'm going to have Fresh probably listening in the back room there. That'll be a game that when he goes through the VOD files will be really interesting to observe. What was the trigger that led to Uno moving? Because to do so when you've got 9 seconds left on the clock, to trust that you can run blindly across site and won't be shot by Red Corridor, for example, where Kayak was waiting, that was a massive call, and it could have gone horrifically wrong, but instead they find themselves up at 5-2, as you can see on your screen. Great calling at the end there out of Heroic, and already have kind of got to that point in where you love saying, oh, we're at 4-2. They win this next round, that gap starts to feel just a little bit too large for Navi to bounce back from.
Exactly that. You know, you've got Heroic in a position now where after a solid defensive half, they're going to like this map historically. They've had plenty of wins here. As we say, roster changes are a thing, and that might just change the dynamic a little bit. But right now, Heroic, I guarantee they are feeling confident here. They're sitting pretty at 5-2 now. Got that bit of breathing space. If they can find one attack, and let's not forget, they've still got top floor, which Heroic are going to feel pretty good about attacking onto, I would imagine, after their defensive experience there and not being able to hold it. It's looking pretty good for them, unless Navi just use the other 3 sites. But having one kitchen now, what happens? Heroic, they are left feeling confident. Absolutely no two ways about it.
All right, well, quick rehearse as you saw, just to solve the HUD bug issue the players are having. So we have to get back into things quite shortly. And once we're back in, we've already spoke about it a lot, but for Navi, and by the looks of that logo disappearing off the screen, that means we are getting back into it. But for Navi, I feel they had sort of the right idea in that round. They were trying to contest, right? We had leaders sat inside VIP, we had Teb in restaurant, we had Yokai drones on support as well to stop them pushing in towards Freezer so easily, yet we still had Uno inside, dropping down an Ossa shield and getting a plant off. So maybe a small slip there by Navi, but as back in the first half, they're showing the right ideas at points. Other times you kind of ask that question, you know, come on, boys, let's make it happen. Get aggressive. Be willing to take that gunfight. Go for the swing if you've got to. I know many look at it and say, just swing is a terrible tactic, but sometimes you've got to take that risk to get the reward.
I'm such an idiot. I'm going to tell you this story. I just thought that I was playing for Navi, and it confused me as to who the new player was.
Did you drop off and have a nap?
I didn't. No.
What do you mean?
So I'm in the dark at the minute. I turn my lights off when I'm casting, as you know. So my shirt, it's navy. It's like a navy colour and gold.
Yeah.
It just looks black and exactly. It kind of looks black and yellow in the dark because you can't really see the contrast of the colours.
You thought you were one of the players.
I've got the program feed, what you are watching at home. I've got that on my second monitor, and I glance across, and obviously it's the Navi timeout. So we've got all the Navi player cams and all these black and yellow shirts, and then there's a little thing that shows me what my camera looks like, and I glance, and it's basically the same size as the player cam box. And I thought, who's that guy? Who's that guy playing for Navi?
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's me, Des.
That's you. Well, who would you replace?
What an idiot.
You'd fit into like leader's role, I think. Maybe.
I can't get the kills that leader gets.
That's the thing. You can hold down F. You hold F like a champion, Tim. Your F key is the most worn thing on that keyboard.
I don't have an F on my keyboard. I've just got a blank key.
It's already rubbed off many years ago.
Yes, even on new keys that don't have it printed on anymore. Yeah, in fact, it's just a see-through key now. I've rubbed all the coloration of the key off completely.
You basically melt it. At this point, you're trying to stick a pin inside the actual key receptor to make sure it actually registers.
Yeah.
That's how dire times have got for your F key.
I mean, I should probably just buy a new keycap.
That's also a good shout. Kayak's already been finished off, though. Doom rapidly up the building again. Looking at the difference you've seen between the two teams, right? Navi rappelling up the building, getting spotted out by Pulse twice. Members of Heroic just responded really, really well when they were on the defensive side. Here, Doom has gone straight at the building, straight away opened the window and killed someone. Just night and day difference in the aggression we're seeing.
It is, and Heroic, it's just another great step for them, isn't it? Like I say, you can just feel that confidence coming out of them now. They're 5v4, they've got themselves 5-2 on the scoreboard. They're just absolutely ready for this. There's no fear in them, and they're just coming in being super aggressive. Navi need kills, and they need them soon, because this is going to run away from them. If I've watched hundreds of games of Siege, which I have, I've seen this a few times before, and Navi, they are teetering on the edge right now, I would suggest, but that's an absolute beauty from Teb.
That's the kind of kill you want to at least start evening things back up, and it's onto such a critical operator as well. Look at that jiggle coming out of June, back and forth, back and forth. It's like a boomerang that just won't go away. Brings him down and gets that trade back. But going back to the earlier point, it sends off the board. You don't bring that operator unless you've got a great plan for them to look at and really good execute. And Nafe's also been found out as well by Benja just spraying through a soft wall.
Manages to find his man as he tries to come back down the stairs. Leaves us effectively 4v2 here. And if Heroic are smart and get moving, he's down.
You poor sod.
He's up, he's down, he's out. And that is that. Benja finishing what he started. Leader just moving between sites at the minute, trying to get anything going. Cut down by Grizzly. And as I said, Heroic, they've smelt the blood in the water. They're circling. They're like sharks at this point. They're apex predators. And they know that their next meal is within reach. And that meal is looking like a well-cooked Navi, which is not going in their favour right now. Heroic 6-2.
Looking as lost as Alice in Wonderland, Tim. I just don't even understand how many times they're being sprayed through soft walls, windows are punched open, they're getting free kills, they're being shot in the back. I don't even want to say it necessarily comes down to Navi not understanding the map, because very clearly they do. They wouldn't have come to this map if they weren't comfortable playing it. But what feels really uncomfortable is how Heroic are playing it for them. It's aggressive. It's like I always compare a lot of teams to Rogue and Wolves in terms of their team-based aggressive playstyle, how they'll execute as a unit and just go BAM! We all hit you at once, you got nothing to do. Heroic aren't doing that exact playstyle, but it is that kind of chaotic nature of you will have no idea what's going on. You'll be responding to one threat and 2 more are going to hit you from the side and the back. What are you going to do about it? And Navi just at the minute seem ill-equipped to deal with that kind of team.
The way that they're going to try to deal with that pressure is Clash. Nath bringing along the shield. We've seen him have good performances with it before, and it can be a way to deal with aggression. Navi need to get something going. That much is for sure, because right now they're going out of this fixture more softly than a butterfly trying to land with sore feet, and it's not a good look for them compared to what we saw in week 1. They need to get in there and just mix things up. We need to see a little bit of adaptation. We need to see them winning gunfights, because ultimately this one is drifting away and it's going quickly.
Well, let's see how things shape up. Here we go. 3 minutes. The last chance you got here, Navi. 4 rounds back-to-back. They need to even force us to overtime. So at this point, Heroic have at least guaranteed a point. But I think given how the game has been going, you know they full well want to walk away with all 3 points. Whether or not Nate's Clash is going to be the big transformer or not, I'm not too sure. Not even really convinced. I like that they're trying new things, but again, what I said in that last round was it's being sideswiped, shot through soft walls, through windows. People are shooting you in the back. That's what makes me a little bit nervous and thinking, as we all know, Clash from the side or the back, not the strongest. So we'll keep an eye on how Nave positions himself, what angles Heroic take up. I do think on this side it's a little bit harder to push in, given its skylight, its windows, it's a little bit ropey.
You've got to do more due diligence, but look at that. 3 of Heroic are in already. They're not messing about. They're 1 minute in, and they're getting themselves established inside of the map. They're looking for those scanners, clearing out utility. Like you said, they are low on drones. They're going to need to be careful. They're going to be face checking a lot of stuff. But Heroic certainly not in any mood to give up the momentum or speed that they've built up so far.
Probably because they feel somewhat happy with the info they've got there, right? Like they are all basically around sight. You got one coming up white, you got one cigar, you got Benji. I tell you, Nate's sat right in the back of piano. Is he like completely like squashed up inside a hit case? Moving back now, I was going to say, if he's on stage by himself, very dangerous place to be. Will now move himself back inside of sight as well, as the first kill does go the way of Navi. Almost a second as well, but Benji's going to find Skiddy.
Benja again just roaming around underneath, able to pick up kills, but Kayak and Teb this time have got answers where Navi could not find any previously. Leader gets a double and Navi claws out the top floor. I've no idea what's going on. It's a site that Heroic were completely unable to defend. It's the one that Navi can get a win on.
And I think fundamentally they played it quite smart. They sort of said to Heroic, fine, come and hit us then. Come and attack through bottlenecks and we'll wait. You had Nate feeding information on the Clash as well, so they could see what was going on inside a cigar. That was the bottleneck where they found themselves a couple of kills in the close, but you also had Kayak down below doing a little bit of damage in the back line as well, picking up a couple of freebies. Benji was really the only one that went mostly unchecked, but he can't do everything by himself. He only got the opener onto Skiddy, so for Navi, it's a good response. But still, 3 more rounds to find.
It's going to be a Heroic timeout after that one. A little bit of a surprise. They have won 5 rounds in a row prior to that one. So Heroic, at the first sign of trouble, think, nope, we need to just put the brakes on here. Don't let Navi build anything. Let's just have a chat and course correct. We only need 1 more round. There's a lot of experience in this team, and they're going to know how quickly and easily these games can run away from you. Even when you think you're at the finishing post, it's sometimes just difficult to get your head stuck out and get yourself over that finishing line. So we're going to be coming back into it. It's going to be reading room this time. We saw this back in round 8. It was a Heroic win. Doom opened things up with a kill onto Kayak, and it just all rolled forward from there. It ended up over very, very quickly. I think it was about a minute left on the clock when the final kills came in. Heroic were able to walk into train, take control, and just completely lock the site down from that side of the map.
Okie doke. And this is always the fear, is that Navi do have to rotate through every single site. They don't get the look of the draw here to be able to pick every single time the most preferable and favourite site they could play on, given once you've won a site, it does lock out for the next 2 rounds. So some work to be done, but they're going to go for a similar setup to last round here in terms of how they defend this top floor, which is obviously lock off a bunch of walls, play some players on the upstairs and say to Heroic, all right, same as last round, come and clear us out on this top floor if you can.
Setup is almost done as we get into the action phase. A lot of utility up on the top floor at the minute. So again, there's going to be a significant presence from Navi trying to hold on to things up there. They've got the Valkyrie this time with Nath as well. So information certainly shouldn't be a problem for them. They were able to win out on the information game last time as well by taking out so many drones. If they can emulate that success again, they could well be onto a winner.
That's what you're hoping for. Starting things out, though, let's think about the sort of thing I was saying about Navi when attacking sites like this back in that first half was start on red. There's a reason why pretty much every single team starts on red as their entry point, because it's the safest spot on the map to actually get feet inside the building in a commanding position. So for Heroic, you've got a couple of players starting to focus on that. Melo's trying to do some work from below to get rid of critical bits of utility, and doing pretty well with that so far. And just like that, 60 seconds in, 2 players are inside the building, and we're already underway and moving, Tim.
Certainly are. Doom's just trying to get those vertical angles working for himself. Once he gets himself established inside a piano, and he can get just a little bit of pressure above train, make sure there's nobody playing inside of there, and then that will support the push that's going to come along onto the cocktail side of things, where at the minute we have the Malusi of Skiddy just looking to try and hold on. He's done a good job of getting early kills so far. We can see 6 and 8, but some of those have had some real value to them. They'll be hoping for a bit more of the same.
Will, Teb, does he know? I'm not 100% sure he does. This someone is not too far away on the other side of that wall. Obviously still tucked right now inside a piano, but looking to work their way down through white. Here comes Doom on the step through. Doesn't find his man tucked in. And here comes 2 of them pushing up. There's one a little bit close, but they get 2 kills. That's what Heroic were looking for. Can they find another? Or will Benja be the first port of call? It looks like he will be. Teb is dug in deep, but the real question is, Tim, is he stuck in there with them? Or are they stuck in here with him?
Diffuser down at his feet. He could make a real play here as he manages to find a kill onto Doom. He's got a deployable shield to play behind, and that advantage that Heroic had might have just been thrown away here. Nath's making his way up the back stairs as well. Certainly one to keep an eye on, and one Heroic have lost sight of in their excitement to try and push and get that diffuser back. The Valkyrie doing big work there, and that now leaves us in a 3v1 as Leader gets in on the action, and all of a sudden it's fallen apart for Heroic here in round 10.
What a kerfuffle there. Real throw. I don't want to say throwing it away, but definitely a big mistake being made there in the push inside of storage. Teb, the hero of this round, and to answer my earlier question, turns out they were stuck in there with him. 3 kills up on that top floor, playing inside of storage, barely moving his feet. And that's what Navi needed to keep this game going. It is 6 and 4, Tim. I've said before at 6 and 2 point, there's no way they pull this back, and they do pull it back. Can I see Navi doing it here inside a kitchen? Maybe. If they do, then I start to get nervous, because at that point they've won all 3 sites. They've been through the full rotation. Momentum is up. Heroic may well have some in-bickering, God knows. And that's where you start to think, all right, maybe actually Navi can do this.
Well, let's not forget last time Heroic attacked onto Kitchen. It was the first defensive round for Navi, so it was back in round 7. They did get the win, but it was extremely close. It was down to a heads-up play from Uno to change location. He'd been stunned off planting the diffuser once, and it came down to kills ultimately. Navi were, forced to push and try to get something going to prevent the diffuser going down, so they didn't have to work on a retake, and Heroic were able to pick them up as they did. So for me, Navi can actually play this fairly similar to the way that they did before. They just need to find themselves an extra 5 or 10 seconds.
Extra 5 or 10 seconds, and like I said earlier on, also be willing to go a bit more aggressive. They didn't really want to go for any swings. They had 2 players, call it 2.5 because there were yokai drones in assistance, 2.5 players essentially bearing down on White Corridor, yet they still gave all the control in the world over to Heroic and let them kind of do what they wanted inside of White Corridor. Let the delinquents get away with the chaos they were looking to sow. So that's what I want to see more of here, and this is a good start from Teb, being the spot that he's in. He's looking to challenge quite early on and just say, no, you can't have it for free. You're going to have to fight it away from us this time. But Tim, I can't ignore the comp coming out of Heroic. We've got the Ying on side, we've got the Glass. Some very spicy picks coming in there.
Certainly is. Heroic just looking to maybe cheese around here, just get in there, use that utility play in behind it. It's worked so far as June manages to find one, but Teb's there for the trade. 4v4, Navi standing tall, but this is going to be immediate pressure into sight. What a peek from Teb on the Valk. The Glass shut down as well. Navi have got answers to every question they're being asked. It's like they've seen the test paper before the exam.
Teb is just flying. He's 13 and 7 since the rehost, Tim. Like, Reminds me of Sleben in Secret's game as well, just waking up in the second half and dropping some real damage down on their opponents. Heroic have kind of showed their final hand here. They've gone, right, let's go for a real cheesy comp here to make this one work. Let's push through smoke. Let's bring Candelas, and they still can't even make that work.
The problem that they face now, Heroic, and you know, it's no surprise to see Uno just taking an opportunity for maybe a little bit of an unofficial timeout as well. Just take a couple of pot shots, try and burn a bit of time while the team has a talkie. Just sees ahead of one, can't find the shots connecting. But the problem is that Navi have got sites available to them now. They can go back to sites that they've maybe won a little bit more confidently. And they're the ones with the momentum. Honestly, overtime would not surprise me in the slightest. As Uno starts taking damage, he's going to work his way up white stairs, get out of dodge, continues those conversations for another minute.
Absolutely that. I saw his mouth was moving for a good while there when he was initially getting his drone out, for example, so I imagine there is a little bit of chatter back and forth. But for now, bit of time being wasted, hoping not to drop KD needlessly. Will find himself one, but might get shot in the back here from Freezer. Indeed, he does. Navi have pulled us all the way back to 6-5 from 6-2 and have the chance to send us through into overtime.
This is looking more like the round one Navi that we expected to see. I said that they were going out of this a little bit softly, that they'd not really shown us the same fire, the same sort of ambition, motivation that we had out of them in week one, but they've certainly turned up and started delivering now, and we love to see it. We're going to be back up Des to the top floor. It's the first site that they won, but it is a site that Heroic failed to defend twice. We know it's not always a fan favourite for the defenders, shall we say, and well, Navi's hopes rest on this.
I enjoyed that we're also seeing a secondary player sort of step up. You know, last week it was Leader who was clutching out a good couple of rounds for Navi that kept them going against Rogue to eventually win 8-6 in overtime on Oregon. Whereas today, I've said his name a few times, Teb has really stepped up to be the hero. Leader, of course, still having a great game, but all eyes will turn towards Teb and the kind of numbers that he's putting up so far. And those numbers could yet climb even higher. As it sets up, though, it's going to be this piano setup. We're used to seeing it quite a few times now, where you'll have things like the laser gates and the castle barricades down on these windows. No doubt a castle barricade on the double door as well. Reason for this being, and we saw some teams really struggle with this in APAT last year, interestingly, even at the height of the utility meta, was when you have things like ADSs down, magnets scattered in there, of which there are ADSs in there, including a couple of mute jammers. You've got to burn through 2 laser gates, 2 castle barricades just to expose Cigar. That's before you've even thought about getting inside the building. So things like Ash, Sophia here will be really, really handy. Kind of a good thing they have got those, but no Gon 6s on side except for... Actually, no, none, because of course it got taken off by Ana. So they might struggle with the range kind of removal here.
Doom just going to open up the piano castle barricade, at least on his way past. Again, just makes it a little bit more risky for players to be keeping themselves locked inside of there. Now the mute jammer is going to prevent Hibana being able to open up at least one of those barricades. Doom's already on the way over, but what has that done? It's wasted 10 seconds. Keep that in your mind. If we get to the end of the round and I'm sat here saying they needed another 10 seconds, that is exactly potentially what you're going to look at, because Doom's had to come over. He's now moving back. That's going to be drawn in, maybe not happening. All these things not happening when they should be. Uno getting caught out with the mute jammer as well. There's a second one there. They're giving nothing away here, Navi, and I love it. Skiddy, he's going to take rather than give, and he takes the head off Benja's shoulders.
Just the frustration. Nearly 90 seconds have been burnt here from these drones being blocked out, from those jammers on those windows. The fact that you can't see them because the rappel is too shallow in itself is brilliant. Now, they've burnt through the X-Kairos. They've gone through drones as well. Again, half the round has been wasted just trying to even consider getting inside a piano, and now they've turned that frustration into a couple of kills. Wonderful stuff from Navi. And again, showing that setup of Castle and Aruni, plus the mute, and of course Jaeger inside a piano is still very much alive and well.
Certainly is. 5 versus 3 now. Heroic scrambling. They know that they're heading for overtime potentially, and also throwing away points that could have been theirs. They were 6-2 up. They had it right there in their laps, but Navi just kept on fighting. Doom, he heads in. We're going to need something special here as Heroic get themselves working. They're attacking onto top floor, so the push is going to have to move up red stairs eventually. 50 seconds left to go. That needs to be sooner rather than later. Just collecting that case so it doesn't get left behind. But Heroic, they're now playing into Navi, who are entering entrenched as they're happy to just stay and play their angles now. They don't need to get overly aggressive in the last 30 seconds.
Now he knows there's one at least on white stairs. Grizzly here. Enemies at every single angle. It feels like no matter where he looks, there is going to be a threat. Out comes Diana, Gemini as well to try and find some information, but at 25 seconds to go, this information is going to be very, very fleeting. They've got to make it work in this 3 versus 5, and now is the time to start pushing. More of those X-Caros starting to come out, and now they start looking in towards white. The push coming forwards. One gets swung onto it, Skiddy. It's far too easy. Now Uno is the next challenger. Can Skiddy make it a third in the round? No, he cannot. 2 coming in for Uno here as he does get the close down, but it's a 1v3. We'll go into overtime, Tim, as Navi somehow pull off a 4-round comeback back-to-back.
No realistic opportunity there for Uno to close that one out. Just not enough time on the board. It had been wasted so well by Navi, but also, of course, that 1v3 number stacked against him in the dying seconds, and Uno just not able to commit quite enough of a miracle there to be able to get Heroic over the line. So, as I said, Heroic recognising with that tactical timeout that 5 rounds in a row for them had been ended, and that Navi had an opportunity to build some momentum. Heroic did what they could to try and disrupt that, but they've got the experience to know that these things can happen, and indeed it has. Navi go on to the defense as well, Des. That's where they've just won 4-2.
The most critical thing to note, if Navi win here in overtime, I'm pretty sure they jump up into second place. No matter what happens, as long as they win, they get to jump into second place. They go ahead of Wolves, ahead of Rogue, Heroic, M&M, falling second only to BDS. Now, I said this after the first game of the day when Outsiders played against M&M and 175, is that there are a lot of teams that are going to be fighting around 4th place. Outsiders a look at. Navi are in there. G2 arguably were in there. M&M were also in the conversation. Heroic, who I wasn't too sure of, as we're now seeing in this game, have showed real good prowess, but then also faltering at points as well. I think the mid-table scrap, if you're kind of considering BDS, Wolves, Rogue are definitely going to be our top 3 teams, there's probably 5 other teams, maybe even 6, that you would say are in contention now for that 4th place spot at the November Major.
Going to be top floor once again for Navi. Heroic just unable to make any real impact in the last round, round 12, which saw us going into overtime. They lost a couple of players early on. Good time was wasted by Navi along the way. And this time they've also got the shield. They've got Nath on the clash. Des, I'm really concerned for Heroic here. I'm not sure that they're going to have the answers to this.
I just love that the clash prevents an immediate barrier that slows down Heroic. They have to consider things a bit more. They can't just swing and win on everything like they've done in so many of these rounds. Don't forget Junes like Jiggle Peek back and forth, for example, on the rappel previously to get the kill inside a piano. Not possible against the clash. So Navi can not so much take things easier, but breathe a little bit easier here. Knowing they've got the information, knowing there's not going to be any surprise kills onto Nath as long as he's feeding them information. And it's looking good once again because they've held for the last 75 seconds Heroic around piano.
June just going to be established inside of Cigar, but we've seen Heroic do this. We've seen the first step of this attack go well a couple of times. They get themselves established top red into Cigar, start pushing towards piano, and that is where it starts to fall apart. They rarely get themselves much beyond that, and that's the improvement that Heroic are going to need here. Drone going in, just spotting out not only operators but utility as well, just pinging out the default camera there just to at least give an opportunity for that to be cleared out. But with the Wamai in play, I would expect it to be difficult to get thrown utility in that deep to be able to impact on that position. Now then, Teb is just holding an angle, just trying to support Nath here. So Nath's going to be feeding the information in, and Teb's looking to make the challenges at range.
Got Nate's coming in there. Nate's got to be careful of that. You hear those ADSs getting to work there and blocking out a couple. A real stalemate being shown up, but Teb steps forward first, and it's June to bring him down. 15-9, Teb will close at the end of this round at the very least as Grizzly and Kayak, they exchange kills across the map as well onto different members of the opposing team. 4v3 for Heroic, and it feels like the first time in a long time, Tim, that they've had any kind of advantage.
Skiddy just looking for the long-range battle here. Gets caught by the man who drops. Grizzly coming in like death from above to just signal the end of the round. Closes it out for Heroic, and they get the advantage in overtime. But, Des, they had 4 opportunities to close this out on match point in regulation time. They didn't get a chance on defense, though. Is that going to make the difference?
The big thing here, I think, is they've done it on the attacking side. Winning that attacking round that breaks that 4-round curse it felt they were falling down to. But it's not really a curse. Navi were the ones doing the hard yards there and getting the wins on the board. But it does break that sort of trend. And now going on the defensive side, the side where you know you've had the most success, that's a big motivator for Heroic. They've got to be confident they can win here and now. If they don't, and they go back onto attack in that last round, I think Navi probably take it.
I think you could be right, Des. If it comes down to that defence, it's not going to be easy for Heroic to find a second attack. It sort of feels like now or never for them. This is their opportunity, but let's not forget, Reading Room has been a site that they've been not only winning on, but they've been winning convincingly. They've been fantastic at defending this site. We saw it in round 2. We saw it in round 5. They won both of them. They also won mining when they went there as well. Just such a command of this mid-floor. Navi are going to definitely have to do something different. I'm not seeing anything especially sort of spectacular in terms of the lineup. We saw the Lion brought consistently by Nath, not to too much of an impact, to be honest, and I think it's going to be dealt with well once again.
All right. Well, last time around, I'm pretty sure he was getting banged on the spawn peak, or at least early in the rounds. We didn't really see all that much of a use case for the Lion. But I've got no doubt with Heroic once again employing the common tools we've seen, the Valkyrie, the Pulse, the Castle, for example. Been a real staple of their lineups and have done so much work for them that Uno could once again prove to be that hero that helps his team get a couple of early kills and really starts to shut Navi down before they can get moving. Look at that, there we go. He's going to get this guy on the
I love it. It's just so tense. It's just so tense at the minute as to who gets this opener. If Heroic can get themselves an advantage, they use this pulse information to such great effect previously that you just know there's a good opportunity for them to do that, and then it'll be a huge advantage. But it's just, when is that chance going to be taken? When is the Valk? When is Benja going to look to potentially get out of those windows? You know he wants to. Nitro goes out, unsuccessful. He's actually going to be chased down red stairs to a degree, I think, as well. The Sledge just dips his way back up there. He is going to be picked up on the camera, but Teb, he starts taking out those black eye cameras, and it's just counter for counter for counter right now.
Got the second one as well. So Drone's been doing their work there to feed that information across to Navi, who do find themselves at this point in the round with more drones still left alive than what Heroic had on their attacks towards the back end of the first half. So as it sets, a little bit of a pause for Navi, and if we get to that second half of the round, they know there's a lot to still dig in here. You can hear the Lion starting to ring out as well. They want to make moves happen, and with storage and bathroom being opened up, this might be the kind of play they're looking for, but they've got to get through these laser gates and start looking for those players that are dug in a little bit deeper, not forgetting again that we are on the Reading Room and Fireplace site. We are not on the top floor.
We're not, and look how deep Heroic are playing this now. They know that they're down to that final minute, so they've dropped themselves right away. They're going to get caught out. Oh no! Teb somehow hits his melee button and doesn't find the kill onto the pulse of Uno, and that could be a huge mistake because Uno straight away, look at him, he's back in sight. He's on the heartbeat scanner, Des. He's feeding the information in. 40 seconds, Nath gets the opener onto the pulse. Finally, Uno taken down, but there's a lot of work and there's a potential flank here.
Oh my God, this is a huge 2K Benja. Define your career now, get 2 big kills. It's not quite a career definer, but it's certainly a game winner. 2 big kills, crushes the Navi aggression, and with only Kayak left standing, this looks to be done and dusted off an incredibly patient flank coming out of Benja. Mello, Jube, Benja, the 3 of them left standing. Kayak desperate to find anything in these closing 10 seconds, but you know it, Tim. I know it, and I'm pretty sure he knows it. This game is done, and Heroic are going to take the 2 points.
Fantastic. Last round from Heroic. We said coming into it, Des, how much of a mastery they had on that mid floor. We saw it be fantastic for them previously, and it was once again. They just absolutely dominated there. You've got a feel for Teb. I don't know what happened there, but just seemed to lose his way a little bit with the knife. It's those things that can cost you games.
It's such a shame because he's played so well. I know, again, we saw him on 15 kills there at the end, but that was post-rehost as well. Like, I can't wait to see the full stats board to see exactly how he's done, because that's the kind of potential that Navi saw when they picked this guy up. We saw him playing on teams like Matchco. Didn't necessarily shine there as the strongest player on the squad, but in my opinion there has really showed that he belongs here in EUL as well. But sadly for them, couldn't hold on to the very end. A very valiant comeback, but Heroic get it done in overtime.
It was an absolutely fantastic game to watch, wasn't it? Second overtime that we've been treated to of the night. Big moments on both sides. So close for Navi. But I've got to say, overall, I think Heroic probably do deserve to edge that one. A good performance from them.
Their first half was so dominant that I think I agree with you. Very well deserved, but both teams still showing there's a lot of potential in them to still fight again towards that top half of the table. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, the desk will wrap the night up.